Hey folks, I'm here to give you a daily lesson on the history of not only on Ephesus, but it has a lot to do with the history of the Western world. And where I am now is what's called the Church of Mary. You can see it behind me. It's expansive. This is not its original form. As a matter of fact, it was built upon a pagan temple, polytheistic temple, probably dedicated to the muses, where people would come and learn skills in music and art. And that came into disuse because polytheism was eradicated from the land, or was it? And that's why I'm about to give this talk. They did indeed destroy most of the polytheistic temples, or damaged them severely, and destroyed the statuary of them quite extensively. You can find pieces of them in museums around the world, normally not undamaged. And this church was built, I think, around the year 300, and built in the name of the Mother Mary, who lived up in the hills back there. Her last probably 50 years of her life, she came here with John, because they were apparently persecuted, and came here, maybe with Mary Magdalena. And Christianity had a hard time becoming established as a world religion. And the reason is because even though they destroyed most of the temples and most of the statuary, the people still hung on to their polytheistic belief systems, especially a goddess called Artemis, who was from here. The city of Ephesus is her city, they say. The figs are now growing. You can see them. They're going to be ripe. Not yet. Very healthy fig trees here, a lot of them. And I'm trying to avoid the crowds here. So people still probably did rituals at home and did sacrifices at home. I know they did, actually, to their gods. And there's very little that the organized Christian church could do about that. And as much as they built churches, and the Byzantine Empire built many churches, people would actually partake in both religions, polytheism and Christianity. And they had no problem reconciling the two. But the church had a problem accepting that reconciliation. So there was an archbishop in Constantinople, notorious, I'm just hoping this is it. And he was a proponent of the dual nature of Jesus Christ as the Son of Man and the Son of God. And as this, Ephesus was once the seat of Christianity, but they moved it to Constantinople. And Notorious wanted his orthodoxy to be confirmed. So he called a council to take place here in Ephesus in the year 431. And it took place here in this monastery. His opponent was the Archbishop of Alexandria, Cyril. Excuse me if I'm saying the name wrong. And Cyril and his compatriots believed in the divine, only the divinity of Jesus Christ. So they came here and convened maybe 250 bishops and priests and archbishops, and had a exchange over many days. Now I'm gonna keep walking past the people here, doesn't matter. And it was a heated exchange, especially between the two archbishops from Alexandria and from Constantinople. And it has to do with whether you're going to define the Virgin Mary as Theotokos, the Mother of God, or Christotokos, the Mother of Christ. It sounds like a very, very small decision to make, but it had a major watershed on history, because who won? Cyril won. The Archbishop of Alexandria won, and his people. And actually, Notorious was nearly banned from the church. He had 10 days to recant, and he wouldn't do it. So he was excommunicated. And why is that important? Well, because at that moment, the reason why it was so important for the camp from Alexandria to have the Virgin Mary defined as the Mother of God was because in Egypt, and he was a Coptic, presumably, and also here, it was normal for your divinities to be presented in human form. And I think he thought that if we said that the Virgin Mary is the Mother of God, Theotoka, then we could redefine Christ as a God. And maybe with the hope that the local people would embrace it more, you know, because they embrace their deities. I can understand that, okay? The problem is, because he lost, we had a movement in Christianity in the early church which was going to go in the direction of patriarchy, because Christ on that day became more remote and less human. Basically, he became emasculated, and I mean that because his humanity was denied us and him. And not only that, the Virgin Mary, the Mother Mary, who was really a very simple woman, and I mean that in the nicest way, she became suddenly a goddess, because only a goddess can give birth to a god. And so that means that the church started to build up, both the Catholic and Orthodox Church, and later the Protestant churches, and they all agreed on that. They all agreed on this, on the decision here, the Council of 431. If you read on Wikipedia, you'll see that they all agreed. Even Martin Luther agreed on it. They also confirmed the Nicene Creed here. So that means with the Theotoka group taking the reins of Christianity, then basically the masculine was allowed to define Christianity much more. It already did, but even more. And it also means that for us, God became very distant and sort of ethereal, almost unreachable. And even Christ, who a lot of us can identify with as a healer, because I'm a healer, and as a person, incarnated or whatever, became suddenly a Godhead, which changed his status tremendously, which made him less reachable to us, even as a role model, you know. So that all took place here in the year 431, and was a major, and I mean a major, watershed on Western civilization that we're experiencing to this day. If you ask me why we're going through a paradigm shift, and why we have things going on like what just happened in New York City with Mr. Trump, has a lot to do with that Christianity became very puritanical at that moment. And radical Christianity, fanatical Christianity, had a door open, because they could celebrate Christ as a God now, and no longer as a man. This council was probably pretty nasty, if you ask me. I know it was very nasty if you read about it, because Notorious was threatened to no end, and he only had 10 days to recant, and because he held by his beliefs so strongly, and bless his soul, he was then excommunicated. And then the church took a whole different direction. And when I mean the church, I mean the Catholic Church, the Orthodox Church, and all the Protestant churches. And so when you're walking around this place here, it seems pretty innocuous. The church was redone by the Byzantine in the year 700 and enlarged. But here, these 250 men came together and changed the course of history. Okay, so I just wanted to share that with you. You can read about it. Wikipedia has a great account of it, one of the best actually, and explains all what happened. They even have the records, the recordings of what happened and what they debated about. You know, because they accused Notorious. They said, you know, if you say Christ is a man, then he's susceptible to sin. You know, which is logical, but I mean, that's not what he's trying to say. He's trying to say that the Christ is the perfect emanation of the source, but also had a human experience. That's what Christotoki means. Okay, but Theotoki won out. Okay, so that's my report from Ephesus today. Take care, everybody, and yeah, and stay in peace, and stay in love, stay in hope and faith.